I'm going to talk about multiple file data sets in Galaxy and how I think they can be used to improve workflows in Galaxy. All right. So to sort of demonstrate the problem and sort of the solution that I'm proposing, I've got an example history here with some dummy data. So I've got two tabular files I uploaded, just a gene name and then two numeric values. It's all nonsense data. Format is tabular. And then I'm going to do some work on the data. So just using normal Galaxy tools. So here I'm filtering on the second column for both data sets. I'm going to group the results of that filtering on the gene name, and I'm going to take the mean of the third column. And then I have this summarize tool here, which is using the the multiple version of the input data tool, which is some pretty new additions that the Galaxy team has accepted pull requests for me from. So that's exciting to see that in there. And you'll see maybe why by the end of this, why this is preferable to a repeat block. But all this tool is doing is concatenating the tables together and then adding this third column, sort of describing where the data comes from, which file. And then I'm going to sort the result there. So let me... here's the tool wrapper for the merge step. Again, it's very vanilla Galaxy. It's just add this multiple equals true here to the data parameter, and then I'm going to sort of pass the output to the wrapper and iterate over the inputs. Give it the file path, the display name, and the extension. All right, so that makes, let's see where it is. The result is this workflow here. What is that? It's filtering, grouping, merging, sorting. All right, so that's wonderful. If you have other pairs of replicates, you can do the same thing. But now let's say someone comes along and you need to analyze data with 3 replicates or 5 replicates. Then this workflow is not of much use to you because the number of inputs down here is fixed. So the aha moment, or the realization that moves us forward here, is that if we take these inputs and we say take these files and treat them as like a multiple input, a data set with multiple files in it, and then we do the same for the filtering step and the grouping step, then suddenly we have a very flat workflow. And this flat workflow is very amenable to Galaxy. So I've seen this data around for a while. I've seen this idea around for a while. The first place I had seen it is in the Netherlands Galaxy instance. For their MS Compare suite, they have this ability to create what they call a file set, which is, I think, underneath just a zip file of other files. And then that's just a data set thing that would appear in your history, and then each tool then could sort of switch, do I want a single file or do I want a file set? And then the tool could have information in there, or the tool could have the logic in there to unzip the file and treat the pieces individually. That's great. There are some problems here, right? I mean, all of that logic for zipping is in the tools. You've got to select here based on, do I want the individual or the file set? And then you're losing all the typing information, right? Because there's only one data type that's called file set. Is it a file set of tabular data, or is it a file set of VCF files? No, it's just a file set. So to address some of these, there are some improvements on this idea coming out of Adapt, which is available in Bitbucket. Jort Buckel put it together. I don't know if he based any of his ideas on the Netherlands stuff or not, but it goes quite a few steps forward and is a big improvement, I think. So what he is doing is using Galaxy's extra files path to like store the files as they are inside the data set. So it really does have a multiple file data set without zipping or tarring or anything else. And then, the tools can iterate over those files as needed. He's also integrated Galaxy's task parallelism stuff so that tools can sort of iterate over the files and sort of split them up and merge the results. And so that's sort of demonstrated here in one of his tool wrappers. So the work I'm sort of presenting here is an extension of this, and it's sort of getting around two of what I see as limitations. One is the sort of need to explicitly declare the parallelism here, right? I mean, all of the existing Galaxy tools do not declare this, and you don't know ahead of. Also, adapt requires each of the data types that are being used to sort of take care of the logic for using multiple files in this fashion. So this precludes using tabular data, for instance, like in the workflow I just demonstrated. So those are the limitations that I'm going to sort of present solutions for, I guess. So the solution I'm proposing to this problem. So the first thing we'll do is enable the new option, use composite multi-files, and restart Galaxy. Wait a few seconds. Reload. And the first thing you'll notice different is a new option over here in the Tools menu, multiple file data sets, with some options underneath there. The big one of interest is going to be the new upload tool. So the upload tool will let us upload multiple files at once, and it will create a multiple file data set out of them. So the generic or the default Galaxy upload tool just uses the name of the file as the data set name, but here we need to pick a name because we're uploading multiple files. So I'll just call it test sample and execute. I meant to do that in a new workflow, or in a new history. Oh well. We'll wait a few seconds. So there are some other ways. Well, there's one other way to sort of create a multi-file data set right now, and that's using a directory if you've got FTP enabled. So as we can see here now, we have a multiple file data set. Got our replicates, our file names here. Instead of seeing the contents of one file, we just see file names. Under format, this is a little different, right? So instead of being a tabular file, this is an M-tabular file or a multi-tabular file. All right, let's start working with it. So the first thing we did in the other workflow was we did a filtering step. So we'll filter this on column 2, like so. And so what's happening behind the scenes here is that Galaxy is seeing that the filtering tool wants a single file, but it's been given a multiple file data set. So it is splitting the job into 3 jobs and running the filter tool on all 3. And then it will merge the output into a multi-tabular output. So I did all of that without any changes to the filter tool. Let's do the same thing with grouping. So we want to group the result here by column 1, and we want to take the mean of column 3, like so. Again, same thing. It's not just one group job that's running here, it's going to be 3. All right. You can see, one thing I should point out here is that the names have been preserved across files. So that's an advantage of this approach. There's just a comment about that on the Galaxy dev list last week. All right, so when we run this demo tool on the normal data set, we were given these multiple options. But if composite multiple file data sets are enabled, then we can switch between manually selecting single inputs or selecting one multiple file input. So here we can grab this group data, this grouping from the last step here, and execute it. And again, we made no changes to this tool. So all of the sort of Cheetah template wrapper stuff has been augmented to sort of provide a consistent interface across the multi-select versus selecting a single composite multi-file. Here we go. These are the results. Again, in the single version, we had this group on data 35 here instead of the name of the replicate. So this is, again, a nice thing to have. And the last thing we had done was we did a sort. Sort the results on column 1, vertical order, ascending order. Yeah, let's just do that. Right. And that's, if you'll notice here, the result was a tabular. So that's what we were expecting because it was sort of a merge step. And the result of the sort is a tabular. Now we can extract a workflow. Like so. From just those steps. Create the workflow. And we can run it like so, but that's not important. Let's do edit. Here we can see the workflow, and it's that nice flat workflow. In the previous picture, as you can see, this can now handle any number of input replicates at the beginning. All right. Thanks for your time.